Hey guys, I didn't realize that Daydream had already got off, and Lily hasn't popped in here yet. So um, I don't have Lily in the guest room yet. So she's supposed to be here today. If she doesn't pop in, well, that was your day. So hopefully she'll pop in here a little bit. Um, Hello, Melnetti. Thank you for the Daydream Red. I didn't realize he'd gone off, and I wanted to double check. Hello, Slow Momentum. Hello, Little Bit Crazy. Hello, Linda Okie. Hey, Linda Barker. Hello, Camping Therapy. Kristen Holbrook. Hi. So, just so you guys know, if you okay, cool. I'm just waiting for her to pop up. So, awesome. I just wanted to let you guys know if I seem good morning, Reno Biz. How you, man? If I seem a little out of it, or if I seem a little off my game today, when I was making tea this morning, I ended up you probably can't see it too well in this light, but I ended up burning myself with the water there and on my leg and stuff, and so some of it's starting to blister up a little bit. So if I'm a little out of it today, that is why. So I just want you guys to know, a little distracted, a little painful, but Lily's here, so I'm gonna pop her up here. Just give me 1 second, guys. Make sure I got my headphones on.
Am I late?
Hello.
Am I late or am I okay?
No, you're not. No, you're not late. You're not late. You're not late. Well, I started early.
When I saw you on there, I'm like, oh my god, I got the time wrong.
No. Daydream stopped early, and I saw these guys popping in here, so I started a little bit early.
I got you. Yeah, I popped on his for a minute. That was fun.
Yeah.
I was trying to I connected into my little gadget that I have that has all my pictures on it. I didn't know if you wanted to try and show some pictures. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I can if you share your screen, it'll pop up. So anything that you wanna show or whatever, I will definitely
cool.
Definitely do that. Hello, Box MD.
Good morning, everyone. So I really don't have eyes on the chat too good, so just hello, everybody.
It's all good. I wanted to ask you though, like, what was the reason behind the name change?
Because everybody thought that I was a crystal ball reader.
Oh, instead of just somebody that's a nomad and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm just a traveler. You know, I'm just when I my name is Lee, and people call me Lily in my real world for whatever reason, and it's cool. I like it, and the gypsy comes from my roaming, and I've been a roamer since my early 20s. And the child comes from I'm a child of God. So right. Lily Gypsy Child is something that all of a sudden people started calling me in the real world. So I was Lily Gypsy Child before I got on YouTube. And it just kind of had a good catchy ring to it. So I thought, well, that's what we'll use.
Right.
And then people did, and then I tried to put photographer after all that, and people were like, what? They'd see it and they go, a child what? And they were having bad ideas. And I'm like, oh, everybody calm down. It's nothing like that.
Right.
And so it just kind of seemed to be a problem all of a sudden. So I just said, all right, let's make it a little more clear what my channel is about.
Right.
So my channel is about my journeys and my photography journey, and just my part of on my banner, it says bringing you beauty through my lens, one journey at a time. So there you have that.
Yeah, and the pictures you take are really beautiful and stuff like that. And
Thank you.
When I was going through your stuff, I noticed it wasn't until the last couple of videos that you really started putting yourself in the videos and
Yes,
started
I
talking
did.
about you.
I did not like being in front of the camera at all. I was always the person behind the camera. And even when my friends would gather up and go group photos, I'd be like, hey, well, I'll take it. You know, I don't know what it is about me being in front of a camera and I really have just now gotten over that fear in the last couple of months for sure, of being on lives and all that.
Yeah.
And still, for somebody to take my picture, when they do, I usually make a goofy face, Bob. I just can't. I'm like, you know,
Yeah, but
I
that's you
cannot
though.
do it.
That's you though. That I wouldn't expect nothing less. In fact, if I took a picture of you and you didn't make a funny face, I would be
Yeah,
upset.
you'd be like, "What's wrong, Lily? Something must be wrong. Lord, are you gonna be okay?"
Yep. Yeah. And so right now, it looked like most of your travels have been around there in Texas.
Yeah, the
Um,
majority.
yeah. So are you planning on going a bunch of other places and taking pictures?
I am. I'm planning. I hate one thing about my gypsy lifestyle is almost the minute I put it out there, I speak the words, something changes and it all falls through. I'm planning on pulling away from my current location just before the end of July. And where am I headed? I hate to say it because I'm afraid it won't happen. But I might be headed towards a desert area first.
Mm, that's I could probably guess, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
you can
I
guess.
understand. I understand why though. I understand why you wouldn't want
Uh-huh.
to do that. Yeah,
Hate to
because
jinx it.
well, it's not even just that. I mean, not even just what happened with you.
Not
I mean, just
safe
look
too.
at this. Well, yeah, but look at this year in general. You got to realize your plans can change.
Definitely. And get me out of Texas before we have another lockdown. Lord have mercy, get me out of here.
um, when you're talking in a lot of your videos, um, like you talk about the blue bonnets a lot, but
Hmm.
it seems to me like you're really into just wildflowers in general, like
Yes, I
the
love
history
them
of them and
all.
everything.
I love all the wildflowers, and wildflowers have been around for how many years? Long before we came along.
Hmm.
And the Native Americans used, I would say, gosh, at least 80% of the wildflowers for some medicinal purpose. And so that really fascinates me that we have medicines right at our feet. Not even just the wildflowers, just some regular old common weeds and stuff that,
Hmm.
grow around us. That fascinates me a lot. Why? Probably because I'm a huge part of Native American myself.
Hmm. And when you go and you do your research for the places that you show to,
Hmm.
like it's not just the flowers. Like you'll talk about, the history of the place or how it
Yeah.
was formed and all that kind of stuff. How
I try to find local history. So,
how long do you usually put into your videos, like your research and everything?
um, uh, it kind of depends. When I first started doing this, I could put 2 or 3 weeks into researching an area. What area did I want to try to hit? What was because I don't just take pictures of the wildflowers. I want something in the background. I
Hmm.
want an old barn, an old building, a windmill, something that adds a little more depth to that. And so I do a lot of research like that, trying to find out what area am I going to, what is it that I can see or might see. And it could take 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes I'll just run across stuff and it kind of reverses itself to where when I get back to home base, okay, so I was in this area. Now, if I don't encounter a local that tells me a really cool story or some history, I seek out the locals of wherever I'm at and try to get some bit of history or crazy story or something to do with the area, because that's where you get your true history. You can look in some of those history books we learned out of in school all day long, and you're not going to learn the correct history.
Right.
That's just.
I was going to say, who's been a really interesting person that you talked to, like that
Oh
you
my
remember, a local that that was just so much fun or gave you a bunch of information?
I have to say the one that comes to the foremost of my mind is when I first went down to the Texas Hill Country and kind of started off on my journey with $300 in my pocket, and I had the back of my Tahoe and a tent to live out of. Her name is Debbie. They're both of their names, Debbie and Herman, and they own a ranch between Llano, Texas, and Fredericksburg, Texas. Part of that ranch is designated as campground. They have a few RV sites up front, but it's 160 acres, and they have camp sites around. Of course, no electric, no water, none of that. They have a bathhouse you can use, and it's really nice and all that. Debbie and Herman have told me some fabulous stories about that area of the Hill Country, and you're probably going to ask me what are some of them. I don't know. I can't think of any at the moment.
No, I wasn't asking those.
Usually when I see my pictures, that's what I can tell you exactly where, not exactly when, approximately when. Now I've been doing it so long, I can tell you almost, I would say 99% of my pictures, I can tell you exactly where that picture is. And that kind of jogs my memory. And that's my connection to the memories of the stories and the whatever that I learned about the place.
What's been your favorite place that you've photographed so far? Like one that maybe just the picture you were able to get, or the light or whatever. What's one that you're like really proud of?
Oh my gosh, there's been so many, but I think we're gonna have to jump out of Texas and go up to Colorado. I was at Crested Butte last summer, and I got a phenomenal picture of that area. And a lot of the comments that I've had on that picture are, I feel like I've just pulled up Google Earth and I'm standing there looking at this place. They say it just looks so real.
Right.
And I'm like, well, it is real.
Right.
It's there. I took a picture of it.
You were able to capture it just so that it looked like you were looking at it yourself, basically.
Yes.
How long have you been a photographer for?
Seriously, I've been at it probably about I guess I would say 10 years now, maybe 8 to 10 years. And I just have always liked to do photography. And I mean, I had all kinds of Instamatic cameras and stuff when I was a teenager, and bless my daddy's heart, I can't tell you how much money he spent on film and developing that film and all. He really catered to me like that, you know. And I would take some okay pictures, you know, nothing fabulous. And then it wasn't until I just kind of dropped it and put it on the wayside, you know, here comes life. And then all of a sudden, about 10 years ago or so, I just really felt a big urge to pick up a camera again. And of course, now we're in the digital world, and how fabulous is that?
Yeah, no more film.
It's a lot different than film. And started doing that. And then as I progressed on for about 2 years, then my friends on Facebook would see those pictures and they'd be like, why are you not a photographer for real? And I'm like, I didn't know I needed to be one.
Right.
And they were like, well, you do need to be one, and I'd be like, what? And it was kind of a shock to me. I was just out having fun, taking pictures and sharing stuff, you know. And they're like, no. You need to open your eyes and look at what it is that you're producing out of that little camera. This is when I just had I had a Nikon Coolpix.
Hmm.
I have upgraded since then, I will say. Still a Nikon girl. I love the Nikons. I think it's a great brand. Nothing bad on any of the other ones, but Nikon all the way on my cameras.
Yeah. Vicky Dodd said years ago along I-65 in Tennessee towards Nashville, the median was full of wildflowers, but now it's gone because they wanted to widen the interstate from Bowling Green, Kentucky through Tennessee, and it's sad.
Yes, it is sad. We do have those problems here in Texas. Lady Bird Johnson, when Lyndon B. Johnson was in office, pardon, she had a lot of state laws come out of their time in office regarding wildflowers. And Texas is not supposed to mow any bar ditches or anything like that before the wildflowers go to seed, because if you do, they're not coming back. If you got road construction and they dump that gravel or that sand or they whatever, and that's covered up in any way before they bloom or at any time during the germination process, they're not coming, and it can be years and years before they come back. And it happens sometime. In my latest video, I talk about that. And how there's one road that I go down and I show a picture and I say, this is what it looked like. I think it was like around 2016. This is what it looked like on this year. And I've checked that road every year since and have never seen it look the same. So that tells me something happened. Either it was mowed before it should have been mowed, or who knows? They had a little bit of a drought at one time in that area. It could be several factors. The state of Texas, oh my gosh, I can't even think of the number right now of how many pounds of wildflower seed that they throw out every year along the sides of the road. Now, sometimes you have people that live at a property in that bar ditch or roadside. I call them bar ditches. People are probably like, what's a bar ditch? I didn't even think about that. The roadsides, kind of in front of their property, which is not their property. It is state property. But will cook onto their big tractor and go out and just mow the wildflowers down. It's illegal. They don't get caught. Nothing's pushed on it. It should be, because there are state laws against that. And Lady Bird Johnson, thankfully to her, the perimeter of probably 100 miles or 150 miles, all directions of Austin, are beautiful wildflowers. Same thing down at San Antonio. That perimeter of San Antonio, beautiful wildflowers. So these wildflowers do not grow all over the state of Texas. We've got one prime location, and it's going to be about 100 miles north of Austin down to probably, I'd say, 100 miles south of San Antonio. That whole perimeter there.
So what did you do before photography?
I worked in an office environment. My last real job was for a gas production company, and I worked, the standard 9 to 5 stuff, and behind a desk, and very stressful. And I was just ready to give up that life. So I had been like an administrative assistant. I probably have about at least 20 years experience doing that.
That's quite a difference, and you probably weren't happy because especially with your photography and stuff. You're a creative person, so being in
Yes.
an office environment where it's structured, and then how you fill things out is structured too. It
Yeah.
probably wasn't very good on your soul sitting there for a
Not good
while.
at all. It wasn't good for me. I felt like I was just almost chained to that desk some days, and I'd just be like, "Oh Lord, I got to get out of here before I lose my mind." Um, it Now when I jumped out on the road, I had to find some means of a ways to make a little bit of money.
Right.
Um, but what I ended up doing is when I first got down to Llano in the hill country where I stayed at the ranch, my first job down there was I worked at it's like a meat market. and so I did that for a few months, and then I was a bartender for a little while. And then I would gain my money up and build my money back up, and then I might shoot off to Colorado or somewhere for, a few weeks or a month, then come back, and then I worked for a guy painting houses. That was really good money. It's hard work.
Hmm.
You can't, if you don't have some kind of disability or something, which I don't have, and you don't have some kind of income off of that. I'm not old enough for retirement or, Social Security or any of that yet. You have to find a way to get by. And it's been some it's been some hard work, but it's just so fulfilling. It really is so fulfilling because I still feel free when I'm doing those jobs. I don't feel like I'm chained to a desk. I don't feel like,
Hmm.
whatever. And then the nice thing about the meat market was you meet so many of the locals you meet, and the bartending job too there. You meet so many of the locals, and you start finding out tidbits of where a possible locations, especially when wildflower season would start rolling around, to be like, you see any wildflowers in the area? What you got going on out there,
Hmm.
And I would get a lot of my information like that, plus stories, plus whatever. And people would say, "Yeah, come on out, come see it." And I'm at certain location. Come on, just
Right.
come up to the house. Let me know you're there, and you just go out and take all the pictures you want. I've been very blessed in that respect.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
resource that I think if you're traveling around, you should definitely try to do is talk to people that are local there because they can tell you little spots that probably aren't even going to be on an app or you're not going to search, but they can tell you, hey, if you go up this road and look over this, you can have a nice view or something like that.
the old
So,
boy system.
hmm,
The old boy system goes a long ways. I've found in my mode of how my life is running.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so you started out in the Tahoe in a tent.
Yep.
So the
Had
vehicle you're in now is probably it feels like a mansion.
Yes, it does. And although even my son, he feels claustrophobic when he steps in here, and I'm like, it's very spacious to me. Now,
Hmm.
I originally, right before I quit my 9 to 5 job for about 2 years, I had purchased um oh gosh, and I won't think of the name of it now. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, I had purchased a 26-foot trailer, and that's kind of how it started off. And I did that. I was trying to figure out, how do I get myself out of debt? How do I get myself out of debt and be able to actually get on the road full time or whatever it is? And I look back on it now, Bob, and it's funny because I think, why did I decide to do how did I ever think of all this? Well,
Hmm.
by the graciousness of YouTube and watching Van Dwellers and stuff like that. But God kind of led me on this path, and I really fully see it now. Um, so I got out of debt. I got rid of paying the monthly rent on a house and the utilities and all that. I had a few of small utility bills in that trailer and a very small lot rent. So I was making pretty good money at that time, and that enabled me to take my debt down really, really far. So then when I decided to jump out on the road, I didn't want to keep that trailer that I had because I felt it was a little too long to pull with my Tahoe because my Tahoe's a short wheelbase.
Mhm.
So I sold that trailer. I got the exact penny back that I paid for that thing. And in turn, that allowed me that I had had my Tahoe debt paid down far enough. I just went and paid my Tahoe off at that point. So now I'm debt free, right? And that was a very exciting day when I could just walk into that bank and go, see y'all, thank you.
Yep.
I'm free.
Yep. And
And then it was a few months before I decided to, okay, let's do this. How you going to do it? And I originally had one design in the back of my Tahoe that didn't really work out real well, but it was kind of functional, you know. It was okay to get me by. And I had $300 in my pocket by the time all that was said and done. But I was debt free, boy, and it didn't really matter to me. And I knew I'd make more money down the road somewhere.
mhm.
Off to the hill country I went and didn't know a soul.
And then you met some people and all that kind of stuff, and
Met a lot of people. Yes, a lot of
then even
great people.
and then even here on YouTube, just having friends here on YouTube, even if you're out boondocking alone, you still have people that you can talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to, I've always traveled alone, you know. Um, for the most part, it was fun, but it can get a little lonely when you're alone all the time. You know, like you're in a forest alone. It can be a little intimidating at times. You just kind of wish you had some other human being around you.
Hmm.
Although I love being in the forest so much. It doesn't matter to me if I had to live alone for the rest of my life and somebody said, no, you got to choose, I'd choose forest.
Right.
Let me go there. And if I have to live alone the rest of my life, that's just fine. Um, so it's going to be nice because I think here very soon in the near future, I will be hooking up with some YouTubers that are living this lifestyle full time. And it's going to be nice to experience that. What is it like to travel with some people for a little while
Hmm.
and really get to embrace that full part of it? I think that's going to be really fabulous.
I think it'll be great for you to have some people to travel with too, because like you're saying, for safety wise, it's probably not good to put out where you're going, but for safety wise, it's good to have a group of people too.
Absolutely. And you can kind of feel like you've got my back, or, you know, should I break down on the side of the road? There are people right there with me, or, you know, whatever should come,
Hmm.
and whatever should happen. I've always been lucky. I've really have never, since I've started this journey, knock on wood, I really have never, broken down or really been stranded or anything like that. It's always kind of been graceful for me that I was lucky traveling alone. I had a few encounters with strange people along the way, you know, that might make my little, you know, the hairs stand up on the back of my neck, and I'm like, oop, let's turn that key and drive away.
Yep.
And let's get to another location because this one's not safe. And my boxer, I have a boxer who will not be traveling with me on this journey. Um, I ran into some health issues, and where I'm currently at, there was no fence for him to be able to roam, and I could not handle him physically on leash. He's an 80-pound dog. I got down to 84 pounds. Y'all do the
Wow.
math on that.
Yeah, that's
So I
a
couldn't handle him on leash at all. So he went to stay with a friend of mine, and he's happy over there. He's so happy that there's no way I'm going to remove him from that environment.
right. Right.
He's getting up in age now. He's 8 years old. The lifespan of a boxer is 8 to 10 years.
Hmm.
And I'm afraid if I take him out on the road with me, it's just going to be too stressful for him. He loved
Yeah.
traveling when he was younger, but he does not like it now.
Yeah,
And
that's
he's not going to come
understandable.
with me. He's going to stay where he's at. So
Yeah,
I always had that bodyguard with me. He was head of security,
he was
and
on Paw Patrol.
people would see that dog and go, "Oh, nope." Just keep on walking. Don't no want nothing to do with that. That's right. You don't want nothing to do with that dog.
Yeah,
He'll
yeah.
get you.
And Philly Girl says she was 480 on your channel.
Oh, sweet. Thank you, Philly girl.
Yeah, and Happy Camper says she loves you and you should come visit
Oh,
her.
I love you. Yes, I'll be back in Colorado. Don't you think I won't?
Um, was the reason for starting your channel just to share your pictures?
Yes. There was an older woman in my life. She's now gone. But I had gone on one of my wildflower trips and I was showing her pictures on my phone, look what I saw. And because she used to live in the Austin area and she would always tell me how much she loved the bluebonnets and all that. So I would come back and I would show her and I'd be like, look at what I've captured. And she's like, oh, it's so pretty. I wish. And she was kind of in bad health at that time. And she'd say, I wish I could go back down there and see that again. She goes, you keep bringing me those pictures. I need to see that. So when I was out on one of my wildflower journeys, I was thinking about her and I thought, how can I capture this a little differently? Because she would talk about she had an old Mustang and she loved driving up and down those roads and looking at the wildflowers. I said, how can I do this a little differently? So not only does she not only see the pictures, and I thought, dash cam.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and bought actually a cheap dash cam that turned out to be one of the most fabulous cameras I own. Um, and I started recording that for her. And I thought, I'm going to somehow put this all together. And I was not even thinking of YouTube. It hadn't even dawned on me about YouTube. And I said, I'm going to put this together in some kind of video form for her. And it'll be me driving through the wildflowers and she'll see that. And then where I stop and take a picture is where I pause that part of that road video, take a picture of whatever it is, insert that, and on down the road we go. And that's kind of how I do my videos. And I said, okay, I'm going to do something like that for her. Well, before I could get it all said and done, she passed away.
Oh
And
man.
she never got to see one of my videos. And which was, it's bittersweet, but I like to think she's seeing those videos now. Somehow, some way, she's seeing what I'm doing. And but then I got to thinking about how there are so many people like that are either disabled or elderly or just don't have the financial means or whatever. And I said, you know what? I said, God, I'll make a deal with you. You get me out here on the road full time like I really want to be. And this is what I'm going to do for your children. I feel it's important to pay it back, pay it forward, or whichever way you're going with it. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how it evolved into the YouTube then.
It's impressive that you decided to still do it, even though you were doing it for her and she passed away. So
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and see, that's the kind of stories that, like I love for you guys to, share, because it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
That it puts your channel in a different light than somebody that just clicks on it. There's a whole purpose behind it.
Yeah. And have I really kind of, I've been thinking about how I need to make a new trailer. My trailer's a couple of years old now, a year old, I don't know, a year and a half old.
Mm-hmm.
I probably need to do a new trailer, and I think I really need to express what I just told you and everyone. that's the nuts and bolts of what my channel is about. It's all about having the faith to face your fears and get out there. And like I said, if you'll get me out there, and he said, all right, I'll meet that challenge. I said, but I'm scared. And he said, step out on your faith.
Yep.
And so I did. And I know a lot of people take me like, oh, she must go to church every Sunday. No, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't stepped foot in a church in years. But when I'm out under the big live oak trees or the trees in the forest or whatever trees it is, and up on a mountain in particular, God's right there, y'all. God's in nature.
Yep.
He's there 24/7.
Just the stuff that you see that he's created, the hills
Yeah.
and, you know, mountains and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's really just being out there for a little while. You know, and this is what I'll tell you guys, if you get the chance to just go out, you know, and sit in nature and just breathe and just listen. Just try to shut off your thoughts for a minute and listen. You'll be a lot happier for the day.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't even have to take on the, the actual meditation, right? You just sit there and just be still and listen. And you can either listen with your physical ears or you can listen with your heart. It does not matter. Just be. Just be. And it's amazing. And I'll tell you, when I'm up in Colorado or I'm in a forest and whatever, the longer you're out there, your primal instincts start coming out. Do you know this, Bob?
Yeah.
Have you experienced? It's amazing at how the primal instincts come out of you. And I don't mean like, I'm going to get you or nothing like that. It's just like, it's hard to explain.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help me explain that?
Yeah, it's well, like when you're saying primal stuff, especially if you live in a place that's in a city or that you're not used to the sounds of nature, your body basically, your brain, you know, is like, I don't need to worry about that stuff because it's not around. I don't need to worry about animals. I don't need to worry about it because it's just not around. So when you go out there, it's like those senses come alive that your body and your mind isn't used to having.
Yes, and so you become more connected with nature, and it's almost like you feel like you can talk to the animals or, whatever. It's the craziest thing I've ever experienced, but the coolest too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And unless you go out there and do it, you won't experience it, you know.
That's right.
And Forever Best Friend says they love your photography.
Oh, thank you, Forever Best Friend. I appreciate that. So, got a great group in here.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people coming. On. So happy you guys are here. Where's your next video going to take us? I'm a little bit behind on videos since I've been doing the remodel of this trailer and trying to get it roadworthy. That's taken up a lot of my time. Boy, there's a lot at the end of the tunnel, thank goodness. Right now, I'm currently working on the Bluebonnet series for 2020. During the Bluebonnet, just when Bluebonnet season was kicking off is when lockdown happened. Just before. As a matter of fact, I went out on one day run, and the next day the state of Texas was pretty much locked down. So I got one day in on Bluebonnet season, and I'm splitting it up into 3 series. I've just released the first one, I think last Saturday. There will be 2 more that go with that. I did how many mile perimeter did I figure out though? It was about a 6-hour journey, really and truly. And I start the video with an actual map. I've never done that before. I started it where I started out from, and I made this big circle and then back up.
we've covered the first part of that. There weren't a lot of bluebonnets to be seen. I found one location out on the way. And as we progress through this, I end up at that end of that video, I end up in a community called Pontotoc. And there are some ruins there that I took pictures of a few years ago that were just you've got these old limestone buildings, ruins, surrounded by bluebonnets and a yellow wildflower, which I can't recall the name of it at the moment. Kind of like a daisy, but not a daisy. Anyway, so when I shot that area that year, I love that area. So I always go back through that area too and check it and see what it's looking like. They have since built a fence around the ruins. So it's a little more complicated to get a shot. And thank God I got those shots that I had gotten already, because you can get some shots, but it's not going to be the same as what I got to experience taking the shots, because you've got fence in the way. I mean, how are you going to get fence out of the way? You can't.
Right.
That would be a lot of photoshopping if anybody had the, inclination to do that. And that's another thing with me too. I want my picture to turn out what I want it to look like in my camera. I want to do as little processing as possible. I might take out a road reflector or a sign or something every now and then, but pretty much what you see is how I was seeing it. And I don't do the stacking. If you want to do the stacking, it's cool. I don't call that photography. I'll call that artwork. When you start taking a picture at one time of the day and then a different time of the day and later in the night, you stack those all together, you produce something that is not real. It never existed. It's cool looking. I want real to come out of my camera. So I strive to get the picture like I want it in my camera, and I do as little as processing, editing as I have to once it comes onto my laptop, and I work them up. I might tweak the lighting just a little bit. I may pop the color a little bit. I may add a little bit of sharpness, but that's it.
Right. Well, and all those things that you do is something that people's eyes will see differently too. Color
Absolutely.
and light and all that stuff is going to be different for everybody's eyes.
Everybody sees stuff differently. Isn't that amazing? In your mind, it's hard to wrap your mind around that people's eyes actually see. You could have two people standing there, and what do you see? Or how do you see it? Well, for one, you can't communicate exactly what your eyes are seeing, the color, the tone, the light, the whatever.
Right.
But everyone's eyes see differently.
Yeah. And it's that's with everything in life, different experiences people have is going to color their perception of reality in the first place as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. It depends on where, I call it a level. What level are you on? Not that a lower level is any less of a human being than a person on a little bit higher level. It has to do with the vibrations that are working through our body, what we've experienced, how many times, whether people believe it or not, how many times we've incarnated into this world. And some people have really old souls, and some people have really young souls. And there's nothing bad on either one of them. The older souls just have had more experiences with each time they come, and especially in the present where they are at. And it's important to, if you can find somebody with an old soul, to pay attention to what they have to say. They have a lot to teach.
Yeah.
Do they realize it? Usually, no, they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if you don't want to believe in reincarnation, let me tell you this. This is from Neil deGrasse Tyson, a astrophysicist. The only way that the atoms and makeup of your body exist is from a star exploding. That's the only way those came to exist, is they had to be formed in a star. So everybody literally is stardust.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you're part of the universe whether you like it or not.
Yep. Yep. You sure are. And then you have those younger ones, the younger souls that they perhaps don't they definitely do not see the world the same as an older soul does. A
Mhm.
younger soul is going to be somebody that's a lot more well, they're going to want to sit in front of the TV, believe it or not. They're not in tune with nature. They for whatever reason don't have the capability of tuning the world stuff out and tuning the earth stuff in.
Yep. Yeah, and like Tracy says, the universe has a weird sense of humor.
Sure does. Good statement, Tracy.
So, when you were younger, did besides it's kind of cool because your dad basically nurtured your photography. He saw something in you, just your enjoyment of it, more than likely, of
Yeah,
you shooting the
absolutely.
pictures.
Yeah.
Did you guys go on trips when you were younger as a family?
We did. We usually took a vacation in the summer. Not every year because we didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have a lot of money. But a lot of times we would go to Colorado. That's, my dad was the first human being to take me to Colorado and see that fabulous beauty.
Mhm.
And he was in the Air Force. He retired Air Force after 26 years. So he had friends all over the United States. We might go to North Carolina. We might go to Kansas. Not much to see in Kansas, y'all.
No.
But go there and see it nonetheless. It has its own beauty. So we would go kind of like that, just different. He would hook up with old Air Force buddies, and that's kind of how we did our vacations, like that.
And it was probably that diverse group of friends that he had from the Air Force probably allowed you to be a lot more open with people when you're going and talking to people and finding stuff out.
I never thought about that, Bob, but you're absolutely right. That's correct. Yes. There it is. There's what happened to me, y'all.
I'm glad I could get it. I usually get somebody on something that they don't think about. So
yeah, good job.
What would you say your favorite moment so far, whether somebody commenting or your experience on YouTube so far? What's been the most surprising that you've had happen?
Wow, that's a great question, Bob. Do I have an answer for that? I think you know what it was for me? Hitting my first 100.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I never. I mean, and I had a YouTube presence for quite a while before I had 10 people for about a few years. I'm like, I never really took it seriously. I never really pushed it. I never, nothing. And when all of a sudden I kind of got into this community and started growing, I hit that first 100 and went, what?
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts. And but proud, of it. And but just the comments that people leave on my videos, and it's like, yes, that's why I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody says to me, that is so beautiful, I can't get out and see stuff like that. Thank you so much for taking me on your journey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think. That's what my best part of it is now.
Yeah. When anybody ever says, because I agree with you on it, it makes you appreciate what you have more. When somebody says, "I wish I could do that,"
Yes,
that's somebody's wish. I mean, you really got to put that in perspective. Somebody's wish is to do what you're doing.
And when you come from a place of people are like, what are you doing? I don't understand. Why are you going out and doing all this? And well, I don't know why I'm doing it either, but I just feel like I need to do it. Well, now it's all come full circle and I see very well why I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I have been asked to show the beauty of the world. There is no doubt in my mind.
Yep.
And I'm fulfilling that promise. I'm fulfilling that that voice that said, I will take care of you. Step out on your faith and believe. And I'm paying that back.
Yep.
And people thought I was nuts. People probably still think I'm nuts for taking this journey. The people that have never lived this lifestyle or whatever, they don't get it. Some of them flat out don't get it. I've lost friends. I've lost friends over this
Mm-hmm.
because they thought I had lost my mind. Look, I just want to live a different way. I don't want to
Yep.
be chained to sticks and bricks. I don't want to pay for a house that I'm never going to own in my life. I don't want to pay for a house that I am going to own in my life. I
But
don't
you,
want to have the newest car. I
yeah,
don't want to be in debt. I'm trying to break free from slavery, if you want to know the truth. That's how I look at it. I'm
that's what that
breaking
is.
free from the slavery. And I don't look down on people for having the best car or the best house or the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be your friend, whatever it is you want to be doing.
Yep.
But yet I've had others turn their back on me because they just couldn't handle, in their mind, it was just so absolutely ludicrous and crazy. They couldn't handle it. And I'm like, I don't know what your problem is. I'm the one living it. So whatever.
Yeah.
Haven't asked you for money,
Yep.
calm down. Everybody calm down, haven't asked you for a dime. So I don't know why people have that attitude. I think really in reality, unconsciously for them, it's a jealousy. They
Mm-hmm.
want to break free. They don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to do it.
Yep.
They don't know how to go about doing it. I worked my butt off to get here.
Mm-hmm.
I still have to work my butt off at
Work your butt off
times.
to have basically, I mean, in some people's eyes, nothing when you really look at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And debt, like you're saying, it's slavery,
Yep.
because you're forced to work to pay those bills. You're forced to work to have a roof over your head. So yes, you can choose where you work, but you're forced to do it in the first place.
Yeah. And I just am glad that I don't live that way anymore, where I think I have to have the best of everything. And that's what things don't bring you happiness. Things do not bring
Nope.
you happiness. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care what things that you have acquired. Some of the millionaires in the world are some of the most miserable people you'll ever meet in your
Mm-hmm.
life. Money does not bring you happiness. And until you can break that connection and figure out how the world really does work, you're never going to be happy.
Yep. And Gary Vee, who I told you guys about, one of the things he says, I know guys that make $50,000 a year that hang out with their family, they run their business, and they're happy as hell. And I know people that are multimillionaires that are sad, that are angry all the time.
Yeah.
So, I would rather be happy and poor than rich and because I've been depression, all that stuff. I would
Yep.
rather be poor and be happy than that. And aquarium cop, like what we were talking about, somebody says, I wish that you're preaching what I dream of. See, that's
Yes.
exactly what I'm talking about, and you're talking about. It's you're living a life that somebody else's wish they could, and that really makes you change your perspective. And being on YouTube changed my perspective of my own life, and
Yeah.
like you said, it changed yours.
Yep. And am I always happy go lucky? Nope. I got my days too.
Hmm.
I have my days. And I heard you talking about that with Trip and Tracy the other day, about the depression and stuff. You can easily fall into a depression. Um, but I have found that this lifestyle, I can ward off that depression a heck of a lot easier than I could with the previous lifestyle.
Hmm.
And
you're not worried about paying those bills and that debt. That's on
right.
because then you start on that and you start on your
Yeah.
cycle, all that. So it's
And
just a downward.
And I tell people I am rich.
Mhm.
I am not rich with money, but I am so fabulously wealthy. People have no idea.
Rich with
People have no
rich with
idea.
friends and love.
That's right.
Yep. And
Yep.
that's worth more to me than any dollar amount in the bank anyway.
Me too, Bob.
Yep. Because you can't take it with you when you die. You know, there's no U-Hauls behind the hearses, are there?
That's right. There's no U-Haul behind that hearse. And I used to have a lot of things. A lot of things. Lord have mercy. When I started, I probably have downsized in the last 3 years. I probably downsized 5 times at least.
Mhm.
And the first initial one was when I first moved into my first trailer, and I gave my son all my furniture and everything and went, here, take it all. Just take it. And so I furnished his house for him, which I was glad I could do that because let's face it, when mom dies, there's probably not going to be any money happening.
Right.
So
Right.
take it now. What I can give you now, take it now. And that's worked out good for him. And it gave him a good start,
Mhm.
where he didn't have to want for things. Not that he gave a crap about
Or
furniture.
going to debt to buy furniture, which
That's
is
right. That's
oh my
right. Like
goodness.
a
You want
lot
to
of
talk
the
about one
young
of the
kids
dumbest things
do.
for debt?
Absolutely. And he told me today, I was very shocked to find out. I always know when something's up with him. I was outside the trailer doing some stuff, and he approaches, and he's kind of him-hawing around, and I'm like, something up here. What's going on? So I'm like, hey, what's going on? Oh, nothing. And, he's just little talking, and I'm like, something up here. In my mind, I'm going, what's going on now?
That mom intuition.
And he spouts off, well, I got some news. And I go, oh, yeah? And he goes, I asked his girlfriend, I asked April to marry me. And I immediately start crying and I think he thought my reaction was I was sad. And I'm like,
Right.
no, this is just a weird reaction. I cannot even explain it to you, son, right now, this reaction I'm having.
Mhm.
It's not a bad one. It's not a sad one. It's not a whatever. It's just when your child tells you this news, it would be the same thing as if he told me he was going to have a baby, which
Mhm.
they have always been adamantly against. And here was the first thing I thought about that was they've always been adamantly against getting married. They're getting married. Can there be a grandbaby for me in the future? Lord, I only hope and pray.
If they were against marriage, then probably.
Yeah. So
But
I think,
I understand you crying because I want to say
yeah.
that happened to me a couple times in my life. I never saw my dad cry, but one of the times was when I hugged him after I graduated high school because
Yes.
I think he was just so happy that 18 years of getting up in the morning and making sure I went to school, it finally
Yep. It was kind
was
of
done.
that same feeling. That's a good way, something good to kind of connect it and relate it to. If nobody has had their child come say, "Hey, mom, I'm getting married."
Mhm.
What? Okay, cool. I'm like, well, how quick is this gonna happen? Here I'm fixing to hit the road, and what y'all doing getting married? Who gonna take the pictures? And he's like, Mom, calm down. Mom, it's not happening that quick. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right, well, wherever I'm at in the United States, I guess y'all gonna have to fly me back in because mom's fixing to hit the road.
That's the mom side of you right there too. Like, well, how soon is it gonna be? And I got a plan to be there and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, what is your what does your son think about your YouTube? Is he happy that you're doing it and keep him busy and stuff?
I think he is glad that I have that direction and because let me tell you, there's been times that I've said to him, what am I doing? And it wasn't necessarily to do with YouTube, but just this journey I was on, and how did I ever think I was going to be a photographer? How do I ever think, you go there, how am I ever going to be famous someday? Well, I've always known I've got to pay my dues. Am I famous yet? Nope.
Right.
Will I ever be famous? I don't know. But I'm rolling down the route that makes me the happiness, and what more can you want out of life, right? But there's been times when I've said, I don't even know what I'm doing, son. What am I doing? What do I think I'm doing? Who do I think I am? What is it's like, Mom, you're a good photographer.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. Has he said that a lot? No, he hasn't. But he has, at the most important times, has said, you're a good photographer, Mom, keep going. So that means a lot to me. Does he watch my YouTube video much? No, he's not into wildflowers, for one.
Right.
He's a boy.
Right.
He's a 29-year-old young man that couldn't give a flying flip about a daggone wildflower. But I think once I actually do fly out of his nest, so to speak, because I am parked in his driveway, and I have been for the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
Once I fly out of his nest, I think he's going to want to tune in a little bit more and see, where is Mom at exactly, and what is she doing? So I think that's what's going to bring him to the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Now, the girlfriend likes to watch my YouTube videos. She thinks they're cool. And she's been with me at times where we were at a location together, and I produced something out of that that just blew her mind, and went, wow, how do you think of that? And I'm like, oh, it just happens.
Yep.
And so I think he doesn't watch me. I don't even know if he's subscribed to me, honestly. He might or might not be. I can't even tell you whether he's subscribed or not.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be tuning in a little bit more when Mom hits the road for real now, and I'm halfway across the country.
At least just to see where you're at.
Yep.
So,
Where is she? What's her area look like? What's she experiencing? I hope that that's the way it's going to rock.
Right. So sitting here now, where you're at, you're close to 500 now. If you could go back in time to when you started the YouTube channel, and also back in time to when Lily was sitting there on the desk typing up resumes, and you told them what you were doing now, would you believe your own self?
Nope. I sure wouldn't. I'd be like, you do what? And you got how many whats? No, you're a dreamer. You're a dreamer, and it's never going to come true. That's never going to happen. You're nuts. I would have told my own self I was nuts for taking on this lifestyle.
Yep. I was.
But here I am knocking
thing.
on 500, and it blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't imagine what it's like when you've gotten to 1,000 now, Bob. You're over 1,000. I cannot imagine. Now I know that's going to happen for me.
Right.
It's hard to imagine it, but I know it's going to happen because I never thought I'd get to 100, let alone almost 500.
Yep.
And I know I will hit 1,000 eventually. Am I stressed or worried about it? No, there's been a little bit of stagnancy in the channel that I'm kind of like, can I just hit 500 already, for God's sake? Come on now. You get to those big numbers, and then it kind of stalls out, and then you kind of get a little antsy about, Lord have mercy. And there's been time I'm like, well, I don't know why am I even doing this? I don't even know if I want to do this anymore.
Yep.
And my little voice said, don't you quit. You keep going. And I did. So it's going to be even more mind-blowing when I get to the next level,
Yep. And
then I really would be like one of those, like, what? You actually did that? It doesn't seem like me at times.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to change. That'll change. Once you're able to start making a little bit of money from YouTube, that changes what you're able to do too. Because even if it's just one extra tank of gas a month.
Yeah, absolutely. And
everybody talks about not much at the beginning, but one tank of gas is huge.
a lot. or it pays your phone bill. And like, look, here are my financial responsibilities are my car insurance and my phone bill.
Mhm.
I'm under $100 a month on my financial obligations. And
Yep.
they don't have to be an obligation when you get right down to it. I could go buy a bicycle,
Yep.
or I could do without a phone.
Yep.
But it'd be kind of hard to run YouTube
Do
without,
YouTube without the phone.
yeah.
You at least gotta have the phone for
You
YouTube.
got to kind of have a little something going on. But I'm a minimalist, and I'm so glad I became a minimalist, because recently I faced something that, had I not been a minimalist, I would have lost everything that I owned, a house, a car, and everything.
Mhm.
And I know that I was led on this path to get to where I'm at, because unbeknownst to me, that was going to happen. And when that happened, and I went, oh, that's why we've been doing all this. I get it.
Yep.
I get it. I see now. And so it doesn't take me a lot of money to live. And I think and a lot of people say, well, you won't get rich off YouTube. Well, I'm already rich. I don't need to get rich off YouTube.
Right. Right. If it pays my bills, who cares? That's all I need.
Yeah.
If pays my cell phone bill.
If I
woo!
got $300 to $500, a month off of it eventually, I'm living high on the hog, man.
Yep. Yep. And we're gonna be rating Roy and Becky here in just a couple minutes. So I want to say that
And that went fast.
it does. It goes fast. I'm just I am happy to interview you because I've seen you on the lives, and I know that the story behind Lily is a lot deeper than what's on your video.
Yep.
So now that you guys know Lily, I hope you go check out her channel and watch her videos. And like she said, she's going to be doing other stuff too. So
Yep.
just
I'll be adding more to it once I finally get this camper done and get out on the road. I'll be more attentive to my YouTube channel, but I can't do A without getting B done first, or I can't get B done without getting A done first. So this project has to be completed. I've got to get out there and capture more content, create, And then after the Bluebonnet series is over, there's 2 more to that. Then we start in on the other wildflowers. And then I'll also do just the regular wildflower education videos. Bees, honeybees are a very important thing in our world. So that's where we're rolling, y'all.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And go ahead over to Roy and Becky. Stay with me for a minute, Lily. But till tomorrow, because we're not at the weekend yet. Stop waiting for life to happen and make life happen. See you guys later.
Enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey. Yeah, that's her.